Federal government wants private employers pay 70,000 minimum wage or jail. FG to implement Orosaya report in major restructuring. Lagos orders demolition of police barracks due to collapse risk. Canada plans further reductions in international students' foreign worker permits. Hello and welcome to Trust TV's news update. I am Chiamaka Nwafo. Thank you for joining us. The federal government has called on agencies recruiting for the private sector to adhere to the 70,000 naira minimum wage, warning that any deviation would not be tolerated. According to the federal government, the new minimum wage is necessary to address the current economic reality, emphasizing that no Nigerian worker, whether in government or private employment, should be paid less than the minimum wage. The Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Labour and Employment, Ismaila Abubakar, stated this on Wednesday while speaking at the 13th Annual General Meeting of the Employers Association for Private Employment Agencies of Nigeria, held in Ikeja, Lagos. Abubakar, who was represented by the Director of Employment and Wages of the Ministry, John Nyamali, said the minimum wage is now a law, and as a result, it is a punishable crime for any employer to pay less than 70,000 naira to any of its workers. There are strong indications that President Bola Tinubu may scrap the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation as part of a major cabinet rejig. The exercise would also see some portfolios split and others merged into a single entity, while some ministers will be relieved of their duties. Tinubu has been facing increasing pressure from within and outside his party, the All Progressives Congress, to sack underperforming ministers in his cabinet. Although the president had warned against underperformance about 10 months ago, the cabinet had remained largely intact, save for the suspension of the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, Dr. Betta Edu, last November. After a 3-day retreat for cabinet members and presidential aides, Tinubu announced that a central delivery coordination unit headed by the special advisor to the president on policy coordination, Hadiza Bala Usman, would measure the performance of ministers and other top government officials. Their performance would determine who would leave or remain, according to the president. The Central Bank of Nigeria has reduced the cybersecurity levy on electronic transactions from 0.5% to 0.005% in its new fiscal guidelines for 2024-2025. The reduction follows the controversial introduction of the levy earlier in the year, which was met with opposition from both the Nigerian Labour Congress, Trade Union Congress and bank customers. The levy, introduced under the Cybercrime Prohibition Prevention etc. Act 2015 amended in 2024, is set to support the National Cybersecurity Fund administered by the Office of the National Security Advisor. The 0.005% fee will be charged on all electronic transactions conducted by commercial, merchants, non-interest and payment service banks, among others. In a directive issued by the CBN on Wednesday, certain transactions will be exempt from the levy, including wage payments, loan disbursements and repayments, and transfers between the same bank accounts or banks for the same client. The exclusion also covers intra-bank transfers, clearing and settlement of checks, letters of credit, and transactions between banks and the CBN. Gunshots rent the air on Wednesday night when operatives of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, attempted to arrest former Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello at the Kogi State Governor's Lodge in Desokoro District in the Federal Capital Territory. Resistance by the security operatives at the Governor's Lodge immediately led to an altercation with armed officials of the anti-graft agency. Incumbent Kogi Governor Ahmed Ododo reportedly whisked his predecessor away. Earlier on Wednesday, the FCC said Bello is not in its custody, maintaining that the ex-governor remains wanted for alleged 80.2 billion naira money laundering charges. However, Bello's media office claimed the former governor was at EFCC office alongside Ododo but was not interrogated. In April, the EFCC declared Bello wanted for alleged financial crime to the tune of 80.2 billion naira. The FCC had stormed Bello's residence in the Wuse area of Abuja and attempted to arrest the former governor, whom the commission later confirmed was whisked away by his successor, Usman Ododo. The matter has been in court, but the former governor has not appeared before the trial judge despite many adjournments. The Independent National Electoral Commission is set to begin deployment of more than 5,000 bimodal voter accreditation systems and other sensitive materials for the Adara State governorship election scheduled for Saturday. Sensitive materials including ballot papers and result sheets arrived in Adara State on Wednesday via Benin Airport and were transported to secure storage facilities under tight security. This comes as the 17 political parties participating in the poll are slated to end their campaign this Thursday. The All Progressives Congress candidate Monday Okpebolo Aswe Igadolo of the People's Democratic Party and Olumide Akpata of the Labour Party are the leading contenders ahead of the ballot. INEC officials and security personnel supervise the transportation of the election materials to ensure accountability. Ahead of the Saturday, September 21 governorship election in Adara State, the Labour Party on Wednesday held its final mega campaign rally with the party's leaders such as Peter Obi, Yusuf Baba Ahmed, Nenadi Usman, Aisha Yusufu, among others in attendance, canvassing support for the party's candidate Olumide Akpata. However, the embattled national chairman of the party, Julius Abure, and members of his disputed National Working Committee were absent. On Wednesday, the Abure came at a press conference in Abuja addressed by the National Publicity Secretary of the party, Obi Oraifo, accused Obi and Abia State Governor Alex Oti of betrayal following the appointment of a caretaker committee led by Nenadi Usman to lead the party. Ifo accused Obi and Oti of teaming up with the Independent National Electoral Commission to frustrate Abure and his NWC. Ifo lamented that rather than stand by the party in its trying moment, the two party leaders betrayed their trust by openly dancing towards INEC. The drama comes barely 1 week after the party dragged INEC to court to stop the commission from granting recognition to the newly installed Nenadi Usman-led caretaker committee. 2 days ago, the media was also awash with INEC's counter-affidavit to the effect that the tenure of the Abure-led executives has expired to justify its attempt to confer legitimacy on the 29-member committee inaugurated by Obi, Oti, and the party stakeholders. The governor of Kano State, Abba Yusuf, has dissolved the interim management committees of all 44 local government areas in the state. The decision, which takes immediate effect, was announced during a valedictory meeting with committee members at Africa House, Government House, Kano. In a statement by the governor's spokesperson, Sanusi Tofa, it was revealed that the dissolution marks the end of the committee's 6-month tenure, during which they worked closely with the state government to implement its grassroots policies and programs. Governor Yusuf, who commended the outgoing committee members for their dedication, also assured them that they would not be sidelined, but instead be carried along in future engagements for the benefit of the people of Kano. The governor directed that the management of local government affairs be handed over to the directors of personnel management of each local government, who will act as overseers until the local government election, scheduled for October 26, 2024, is conducted. Early morning downpour in Adara State has damaged part of the Lefia-Numan Highway. Court of motorists and pedestrians plying the road. Adamawa is one of the states hardest hit by flooding this year, as projections by NIMET predict more flooding this week. The anticipated release of water from Lakdo Dam in Cameroon is set to compound situations in parts of the northeast. Following the proposed release of the water from the Lakdo Dam in Cameroon into the River Niger and River Benue, states along the flood path has started planning temporary shelters for affected residents. The federal government alerted Nigerians on Tuesday to the plan by the Cameroonian authorities to release water from the Lakdo Dam. A statement by the Director General Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian Hydrological Services Agency, Umar Mohammed, listed 11 states as being at risk. They include Adamawa, Taraba, Benue, Nasarawa, Kogi, Edo, Delta, Anambra, Bayelsa, Cross Rivers, and River States. Now, the Lagos State government has raised the alarm over an imminent building collapse at the Mopol 20 barracks on Nigbomo in the Ikeja area of the state. This is as the state emergency management agency is set to begin an emergency evacuation and demolition of the old Block 3 part of the barracks. In a statement issued on Wednesday, the permanent secretary of LASEMA, Damilola Oke Osayuntolu, said its response team had assessed some parts of the structure and found them in a precarious condition. The LASEMA boss stated the building and adjacent structures would also be evacuated immediately to prevent any loss of life or property. Still in Lagos, the Nigerian Customs Service Kirikiri Lighter Terminal says it intercepted 51.25 kilograms of cannabis indica valued at 256 million naira in September. The Customs Area Controller in charge of the command, Joy Edolduk, disclosed this while handing over the seized hard drugs to officers of the Nigerian Drug Law Enforcement Agency and the command in Apapa, Lagos on Thursday. Edolduk added that the act violates the provision of the Nigerian Customs Service Act 2023, sections 55, subsection 1C and 1F. She maintained that the interception was a testament to the command's continued dedication and commitment to safeguarding the nation's borders from the importation of illicit and harmful substances. Edolduk maintained that by keeping these dangerous substances out of the communities, the service is preventing untold harm and helping secure a safer future for citizens, particularly youths who are most vulnerable to the allure of harmful substances. To more stories. The recent surge in fuel prices across Nigeria has plunged many more citizens into poverty, making it increasingly difficult for people to afford basic necessities, especially food. This has also significantly slowed down business operations, with many experiencing low patronage. Victoria Tokolo, who spoke to Lagos residents about the impact of the fuel price hike, has more in this report is presented from our studio. The recent fuel price hike in Nigeria has sparked warnings that the country's poverty rate is set to soar. With the cost of fuel increasing by over 50%, many Nigerians are struggling to afford basic necessities like food, transportation, and healthcare. According to the World Bank, Nigeria's poverty rate is already one of the highest in the world, with over 40% of the population living on less than $1.90 a day. The fuel price hike is expected to push millions more into poverty, particularly in urban areas like Lagos State, where fuel is a major expense. The rise in fuel prices has already triggered an increase in the cost of basic goods and services, making it even harder for low-income households to meet their daily needs. In Lagos, residents have been speaking on how the fuel price hike has further strained their livelihoods.
This fuel issue now don't push Nigeria to poverty level. For now, we're working with the markets where they purchased last year and the market this year is not the same thing in Nagam. One of the consultants, customer now is not coming as before again because of this increment of the fuel. The increment of fuel is making people now to stand on the road now to rob people because of the hardship in Nigeria.
Everybody knows in Nigeria that immediately they put 1 naira on top of petrol. It affects every commodity that they are selling in the market. So now they said if Dangote starts business, running his own refinery, everything will normalize. The price of fuel will come down. But instead of government to allow Dangote to sell to marketers, now the NFPC still say they will be buying from Dangote.
The situation is also affecting small businesses, which are struggling to stay afloat due to the high cost of fuel. Low-income earners told Trust TV the challenges they are facing while trying to make a living for themselves and their families.
This fuel increment is pushing Nigerian people into poverty, really poverty, because as a food seller, before I used to buy curry in bag at the rate of 10,000 to 12,000, but now we cannot buy curry again in bag because of how things are going on in Nigeria now. Curry in bag now is from 50,000, 50-something thousand. So these fuel issues are pushing Nigerian people into a big poverty.
Increase in fuel has really put Nigeria into poverty because let's take for instance, I buy beans before like 40k per bag, but now I'm buying it for 125. So even the increase is too much. Like the way customer, maybe by now I would have been through with selling of my market, I would have been like closing for the day. But now no more customers. People just come, they buy in small quantity. They don't want to buy big quantity because some will say I have family at home, I have this, I have other work to do. So they will have to cut down their stomach.
Lagos residents are calling on the Nigerian government to take immediate action to address the situation and mitigate the impact of the fuel price hike, especially on low-income households in the state and in the country at large. So, staying with cost of living stories over in Bauchi State, now parents have continued to lament the high increase in school fees following the surging cost of living amid fuel price hikes. 2 weeks after schools reopened for the new session, some parents who are yet to meet up with their financial obligations in school are urging the government and schools authorities to consider other ways of addressing the challenges affecting the entire basic education system. Trust TV's Adamu Imam completes the report.
For parents in Bauchi State, these are not the best of times as the lingering economic hardship bedeviling many families in the country has been worsened by the recent hike in fuel prices. As an aftermath of the fuel price hike, proprietors of schools have jacked up the cost of academic materials and fees, leaving many parents wondering how to meet up.
You chose to take your child, your kid, to a school very far away from your destination, from your home, and now it has become necessary for you to either remove the children from the school or change for the one that is very close within the vicinity of where you are staying. So there are a lot of strategies being done by the parents. We look at what we can afford and then we do it.
The solution is that the school management, they have to come down and look into the situation. We are all parents, then too they have children in their other schools. So they have to come and see what at least we will join hands and move together. Affordable levy of the school fees so that parents, they can adopt their children where they are. Because it's not easy to remove your children from where you are at this station. First time, to go and renew their school fees again.
One of the proprietors within the metropolis expressed worry over the slow resumption of students, saying this may not be unconnected to the current economic downturn, which he said could affect children's performance in school.
Go around, you see the rate at which parents are bringing in new students is very, 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 very low. You go to some classes now, up to now, we've not registered 10 students in one class, which is not as it is. By this time, some other years, we don't even have space. We are even telling parents to go elsewhere because our classes are filled up. But now, that's what we see. The enrollment is very, very low.
They urge the federal government to always consider the masses when implementing any policy, especially those affecting the common man directly. Adam Imam, Trust TV News, Bauchi.
Over in business, the local currency was unchanged against the greenback on Thursday as the haven currency firmed sharply despite an interest rate cut by the U.S. Central Bank, which was offset by less dovish signals regarding future rate hikes. The naira closed flat against the dollar in the parallel section of the Forex Market, trading at 1,660 naira to a dollar. It also closed flat against the British pound, trading at 2,220 naira to a pound. Fundamentals showed that the Nigerian naira faces headwinds despite recent interest cuts by the U.S. Federal Reserve. The CBS's recent intervention in the country's fragile market has done little to counteract the naira's decline in value, with the country's oil production amid a source of foreign exchange still at tepid levels. Price action indicates that naira short sellers are firmly in control of the 1,600 support line in the unofficial black market and will likely face more selling pressure due to rising demand for foreign exchange, primarily for vacations, fuel imports, and foreign tuition. Away from Nigeria, the Canadian government has announced immigration reforms for 2025, which will cut international student permits by 10% and tighten rules for foreign workers to protect the immigration system and support economic recovery. According to a press release from the Canadian government, the reforms aim to strengthen temporary residence programs and manage the growing volume of temporary residents. The plan includes reducing the percentage of temporary residents in Canada from 6.5% to 5% of the total population. Canadian Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship, Mark Miller, disclosed that the reality is that not everyone who wants to come to Canada will be able to, just like not everyone who wants to stay in Canada will be able to. Miller said the country is taking action to strengthen temporary residence programs and roll out a more comprehensive immigration plan to meet the demands of today's changing landscape. Still away from Nigeria, the United States Federal Reserve cut its key lending rate by 0.5 percentage point on Wednesday in its first reduction for more than 4 years, sharply lowering borrowing costs shortly before November's presidential election. The move marks the beginning of the end of the Fed's high interest rate environment aimed at throttling demand, with inflation now easing towards the central bank's long-term 2% target and the labor market continuing to cool amid a surprisingly resilient post-COVID economy. Against this backdrop, Wednesday's large Fed rate cut is probably good news for Democratic presidential candidate and U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris, who is running against Republican former President Donald Trump in the upcoming election. While this announcement is welcome news for Americans who have burn the brunt of high prices, my focus is on the work ahead to keep bringing prices down, Kamala Harris has said in a statement. At an event in New York on Wednesday, Trump told reporters that the independent U.S. central bank's decision was either a response to a very bad economy or it had been playing politics. And the Flying Eagles of Nigeria defeated Water FC of Abuja 1-0 in the first friendly game on Wednesday. Bayelsa United striker Rabiu Abdullahi scored the winning goal for the multiple African champions. The Flying Eagles are preparing for the WAFU B Under-20 Championship, which will hold in Togo next month. The team started preparations for the competition last week, Thursday. Aliyu Zubeiru was appointed head of the former African champions last month. They expected to play more friendly games ahead of the WAFU tournament. The WAFU Championship will decide the team that will represent the zone at the 2025 Africa Under-20 Cup of Nations. That's has our package of news updates at this hour. For more of our news programs and documentaries, do well to follow us on our social media platforms and our YouTube live stream. I am Chiamaka Mwafo. Thank you for joining us.